Welcome back to GAA Fan TV. My name is Aaron. I'm delighted to be joined here by Matthew Hurley of the GAA Statsman podcast to run through all the weekend's results from various different club championships. You had club finals in Kerry, Mayo, Tyrone, Fermanagh, London, Limerick. I mean, so many finals up and down the country. So we're here to break it down, dissect all the action and discuss it further. I was away for the bank holiday, hence why there was no match reactions or anything like that out over the last few days. And obviously we are doing this 1 or 2 days later than usual, but it was the bank holiday, so that's the reason for that. Just a reminder, we're brought to you by Declan Kirby GAA Star, the best children's GAA book out there in the market at the minute. You can find on Amazon, Easons, all good bookshops. Matthew, happy delayed Halloween. How's things with yourself? Did you enjoy all the scary, crazy GAA action over the weekend?
You could say it was scary, Aaron. Thanks for having me on again. It was a shock, really, with the bars and Nemo. Like, I didn't expect it. You expected it. In fairness to you, you said Nemo would win the Cork County Championship. Maybe you should come down here and work for the Southern Star or the Echo or anything like that, you know. So, fair play to you for getting that prediction correct, and a lot of more action to look forward to. The Kerry final, as you said, the Limerick Hurling final as well. Westport winning, which I actually predicted Westport to win in Mayo, so maybe I should go up to Mayo and you should go down to Cork. So maybe there's a deal there.
Yeah, I don't know. It could be worse, to be honest. We could be sent to worse places. To be fair, the Mayo fans haven't been too happy with you down the years on this channel, so I don't know. Maybe they might. If you go down there, maybe you might make it out of there. You know.
Maybe not. But geez, I get everything right anyway. Didn't I say they won't win in All Ireland year after year after year, and they don't do it, and then Westport win it. So maybe I'm just a realist when it comes to Mayo GAA, you know. So maybe they want to have me up for a bit of motivation, get them up on a podcast, a Mayo Sport Live podcast, just to, you know, slag off their players, give them motivation, and they'll eventually win Sam back for the first time since 1951. So maybe there's a few positives for inviting me up to Mayo, maybe.
Yeah, maybe a psychologist role or something of that nature would be interesting. But I suppose it was Halloween yesterday, obviously, and I was kind of thinking before we'd start this podcast a bit of a trivia question, in some ways, like one of the followers did send me this earlier of asking me to put it up as a post, and I kind of just didn't really get around to it, but it was basically talking about, you know, the players that would scare you the most in terms of, like, you know, for your own county, like a team you'd be scared of the most that could do the most damage. You know, like he mightn't be the best player necessarily, but when he comes up against your county, he just always has a good game, always performs. Can be in ladies football, of course, as well. Like, as a Dublin fan, like Owen Mulligan was a player that absolutely used to terrify me as a Dublin fan, because, you know, like the amount of brilliant goals he'd score against Dublin down the years. I mean, he was absolutely crazy, really. And even down the years in the Leinster Championship as well, going up against the likes of your Joe Sheridans and these type of lads. To be fair, we probably haven't been scared in Leinster in God knows how long. But what about yourself? Any players down the years as a Cork fan that just had a habit of, you know, producing the shock, producing the scare?
A few Kerry players now, and before anybody mentions that in the comments, Clifford isn't one of them. Like, every Cork player that actually went on him has actually done well. When Kevin Flahive or any of them went on him, he turns into some terrible player. I don't know what it is about Clifford, but
it's probably the opposite for Clifford in some ways. He's probably nearly, it's like Cork are the team scaring him. They're spooking him.
Maybe like Clifford just as you know, a bit of a street fright or something against Cork. I don't know what it is about him, but definitely one player that would scare me for Kerry. I recognise his brilliance and all that, and as a pundit, I think he's unbiased. I think he's an excellent pundit as well. Colin Cooper. Like, every time Cork came up against him, he produced something, you know, out of the blue. He's just some sort of mini god there, or Kieran Donaghy whenever he went into the square or something like that. But I think we dealt with Donaghy a small bit once the years went on, as he got older, and, you know, Owen Cadigan got wiser as well, and maybe they had them battles. Maybe a bit of a scary one, but not in terms of playing. Probably Paul Galvin, because of the fights he had with Noel O'Leary. To be honest, there's a lot of gory stuff in that, to be honest with you. And funny enough, they're best of friends now, Noel O'Leary and Paul Galvin. So they're gone completely in different trajectories, really. Galvin's more to the fashion, and then Noel is into analysing on the Irish Examiner, and he's a tree surgeon now as well. So, like, two completely different personalities, and they obviously was to fight each other on the pitch, and now they're the best of friends. So, that's the way it is. But yeah, outside of Kerry, it's a difficult one, really. I suppose for that 2010 semi-final, I know Cork won it, but that 2010 semi-final alone, Bernard Brogan, I thought, geez, what a player he was, and I see him, and I think I discussed with Seamus Brady from PRG off air plenty of times. The worst person you could have put on Bernard Brogan from a Cork point of view was Ray Carey. We did that. I don't know why Conor Coonan did that. And then Bernard scores 1-6 from play against us, and he was on the losing side in the end, but that was probably the best performance ever by a losing player in an All-Ireland semi-final, in my opinion. I thought he was absolutely superb, and a lot of people saying Bernard Brogan was overrated. I watched him in the flesh in Croke Park, and I thought he was absolutely unreal. What a player he was. And probably Brogan, Cullen Cooper, and maybe Paul Galvin for a different sort of reason, the gory detail possibly.
Yeah, but funny enough, like you were mentioning Ray Carey marking Bernard Brogan. I mean, Paddy Andrews was the man marking Colm Cooper in the 2009 All-Ireland quarter-final. So, you were mentioning Colm Cooper there. That's kind of crazy, really. Like that Paddy Andrews was the man marking Colm Cooper back then. But I suppose, look, we'll crack on with the weekend's club results anyway, and there's certainly a lot to digest and a lot to break through. I suppose we were chatting off air about the Cork final, Nemo Rangers, St. Finbarrs. We might as well start with that one. Nemo Rangers 1-16, St. Finbarrs 2-9. I suppose, Matthew, you were saying before that, Nemo Rangers, maybe you didn't rate them too much, and obviously a lot of people, ruling them out and maybe saying they're not good enough. And you obviously seen Luke Connolly's interview after the game, like speaking out and saying, people are writing them off. And it kind of is a thing in a lot of club games. Remember Desi Hutchinson was saying after Ballygunners win for Waterford, people are writing us off. It kind of is a bit of a thing you see a lot of the time at club level. But to be fair to Luke Connolly, probably did have a point. And I don't know if he was tuning into any of these podcasts, but certainly yourself didn't expect Nemo Rangers to produce the big upset.
You didn't know, but even look at the stats before the final. Like, Nemo actually, out of their 26 finals up until Sunday, Nemo won 22 and lost 4. So their record was absolutely incredible once it came to finals. And I know the Bars, in my opinion, were probably the better team on paper. And they performed well against Kilcoo and Austin Saxon, etc. last year. And I honestly thought the Bars were all-Ireland contenders. But I was going into the game at Park, I keep thinking, you can't write off this Nemo side. They are just perennial, experts at this. Once they get to finals, they rarely lose. It's a bit like Kerry in the All-Ireland over the last few years in football. Once they get to a Sam Maguire final, they don't lose. Like, it's not in their DNA. This Nemo team have only been concentrating on football for years, and maybe it was a few things with the Bars, in my opinion. Maybe they went in overconfidence. Like, a lot of people are contacting me saying maybe that's false. They know the players inside out, but it kind of looked to me in the first half they just weren't ready for the battle, in my opinion. I just think they were ready for the battles against Austin Sachs because everyone wrote them off and saying Austin Sachs were the be-all and end-alls and stuff like that. But once people were writing off Nemo and saying the Bars are going to win this, they're going to go on an All-Ireland journey, they possibly could be Kilmacud in the semi-finals. I thought they just looked flat in the first half. I thought Nemo just tore into them. They put Kevin O'Donovan and Stephen Sherlock, and it was mostly Sherlock marking O'Donovan. O'Donovan making marauding runs. Sherlock only scored 1 point for play, and O'Donovan scored 1 point for play himself. So that battle was definitely won by Kevin. I thought he was outstanding. Mark Cronin might have not scored, but I thought he was brilliant as well. Conor Horgan with 1-3. Again, like we were mentioning off air as well, Nemo don't necessarily have brilliant players that could play for Cork, but he's definitely one that steps up to the plate in club level. He scored 1-3 from play, including the goal. If you watch the back of the Irish Examiner, I thought it was very smart. It was poor kick out by John Kearns, to be fair to him. But once Conor Horgan got the ball, one thing in his mind, he was going to lob him. And that essentially finished the game. Like, the Bars had too much to do after that. In fairness to Brian Hayes, Billy Hennessy, and Sherlock himself, they got back into the game. But Nemo, they just got their matchups correct all over the pitch. And fair play to Paul O'Donovan for that. And after the Clonakilty game and Carbery Rangers game earlier on in the year, like they only scored 2-4 against Carbery Rangers in the quarterfinals. And I thought, there's not a county in this team. No way. But they got to the final and they do what they usually do in finals and win it out. And I suppose it is a lesson to everybody not to write Nemo off. I think Colin Parkinson mentioned it as well. This is a team that won 3 of the last 5 quarterfinals, and for some reason they were written off as, also Rams, and they were terrible and this and that. But like this Nemo team, they went out the group stage last year, let's not forget, and they go on and win the Cork Championship this season. So it's a brilliant recovery from them, and I think honestly they were much more up for it than the Bars, and that first 45 minutes was the difference between the two sides. It was unfortunate for the Bars, who were going for a double, but maybe that was an issue as well. They put too much into hurling a few weeks ago, and maybe they got a bit flat-footed as well. But fair play to Nemo Rangers. They proved myself wrong. They proved you right, Aaron.
They did, and my Mystic Mac prediction there of them winning the Cork Championship. To be fair, like the main reason why I picked them to win it is just as you said, like they've won 3 of the last 5 finals. They obviously have the history there, and obviously that doesn't always count for anything. I mean, you look at a team like Corofin, for example. Maybe you'd expect them to sort of get back on track and keep winning. Eventually, the greatness of every team seems to run out. I mean, you only have to look at Dublin at inter-county level and you see their greatness is somewhat diminished in the last 2 seasons. But it does show the character of Nemo to turn it around and obviously win the final. And obviously it finished as a 3-point win in the end, or a 4-point win in the end. But like generally speaking, like it was very, very easy for Nemo Rangers. Like Finbars didn't get their 2 goals until late on. Like I was watching the highlights on TG Caher earlier, and like, geez, it was very, very comfortable for Nemo Rangers. Like Finbars never really settled into the game. Sherlock, I thought, was marked out of the game brilliantly. And they just seemed that hungrier and smarter. And as you said, like that error from John Kearns from the kick out probably maybe summed up St. Finbars in many ways. Like they just weren't at the races at all. And then obviously Conor Horgan has the audacity to chip the keeper straight away, and a very instinctive, tuned-in decision to think of that straight away, especially when they probably didn't need the goal either. So, yeah, look, brilliant from Nemo Rangers, but for Finbars, yeah, quite a flat performance in many ways.
It was, yeah, and so I was expecting Bars to really show what they were made of in this game, but I just think, as you rightly said, Aaron, they were flat-footed. They just didn't expect the battle coming from Nemo, and I don't know what it was about this team. Like Killian Myers-Murray was marked out of the game completely. I think by Brian Murphy at full back is another suggestion for Cork football. I think he was excellent, and I think that was mentioned on some article during the week. The Bars' plan, like against Austin Sachs last year, was to win the throw-in and then boot the ball long into Brian Hayes. They planned to do that at the start of the game against Nemo, but Barry Cripps and Alan O'Donovan in the Nemo midfield had other plans. They won the ball, and that set Nemo on the front foot already, and they were just aggressive to every single ball. And yes, it was 3 points apiece in the first few minutes, and we were thinking this is going to be an absolute classic. But Nemo scored 6 of the next 7 points, and that ended the first half, really ended the game as a contest. And I was thinking, look at the game from the stands. I was thinking, the Bars have to come up in the second half. They have to hit the first 2 scores in this. But in fact, it was Nemo to hit the first 2 scores, and that was it. That was game over after that. And Conor Horgan, brilliant performance by him, and he just summed it up with that audacious chip, and that eventually won the game. And even when the Bars had that mini purple patch towards the end of it, Nemo still found a way to get scores. I'm sure you saw it on loads of Twitter accounts and stuff. Luke Connolly's point. I've criticised Luke Connolly in the past, but that was an absolutely superb point and well needed for Nemo Rangers. It was brilliant. And even Paul Kerrigan coming on, we mentioned off air, he had his 10th county title now. I don't know, is that a record? It must be, to be honest. It definitely probably is in Cork. But he set up the last point for Kieran O'Sullivan, who's from Kerry, by the way, as well. So I didn't know that before I checked Twitter this morning, but there you go. But he set up the last point, and Kieran O'Sullivan got it. And yeah, it was something that Nemo planned, and maybe the articles drove them on. I was talking to a Nemo player on a DM and things like that from Instagram and Twitter, and they were saying the articles throughout the week saying, oh, the Bars will challenge Kilmacold, and they'll go win Munster and they'll go win this Cork Championship and they're a great team and they'll win the double and this and that. That drove on Nemo Rangers. Everybody was expecting a Bars win, but yeah, including myself, but Nemo proved everyone wrong. And some record, really, 23 wins out of 27 finals. And to add to that, 2 of the 4 losses were the club sides. Skibbereen, who won the All-Ireland in 1992, and Castlehaven in 2013. That is some record for Nemo Rangers. And the other 2 losses were to UCC and Muskerry, who aren't clubs. So this Nemo team, they're the perennial experts at this. They're brilliant at finals, and that won them the game. They were just up for it, and they knew what to do.
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, you mentioned Luke Connolly there, and I mean, it was an outstanding point, an outrageous point in more ways than one. And we've seen him do this a lot of the time for Cork, and maybe sometimes that can be maybe the issue with him is because he takes those opportunities on quite a lot, mainly because he has the ability to score from those angles. But I'm sure for modern day coaches where it's all about shooting from scoring zones or recycling possession and not be shooting from ridiculous angles because you'll give away possession. But I mean, he was outstanding. He was brilliant. I mean, what do you think? Could he be coming back into the Cork panel maybe next year?
It's a really tough one because I think Sherlock is so good now. I just think he had a bad day on Sunday. Brian Hurley, I think, is improving year on year. Colin O'Mahony's a brilliant young player. Conor Corbett's now coming back to fitness. So it's going to be tough for Connolly to break into the team. But I'm not, it was a brilliant performance and all that from Connolly. But I'm actually not forgetting that in the McGrath Cup final, he takes some stupid decisions, in my opinion, and his attitude wasn't particularly great in that McGrath Cup final against Kerry, and that ultimately cost us a bit of a trimming down at Killarney. But I think his quality is undeniable. I think he's an unbelievable footballer. His skill level is absolutely unbelievable. And even in the group phase against Castlehaven, I think Tony Davis mentioned in the Irish Examiner live stream at the final as well, he should have gone for a point, really. And he had the audacity to go for goal. That's what, and I think Tony Davis quoted that. That's what makes him special. That's Luke Connolly in a nutshell. He's an absolutely unbelievable player. He has the quality to do these sorts of things, and he's a brilliant player. But I'm thinking, Sherlock is consistent, Brian Hurley's consistent, Cathal O'Mahony. So I think he needs to add consistency to his game. Maybe if Nemo make a run at the county Munster, then Kilmacud in the semi-final. Then after that, maybe John Cleary could pick up the phone, because Keith Ricken was the one who actually dropped Connolly. So would Cleary call from back? You don't know, but I will say Cleary doesn't take any favourites. He doesn't dwell on past experiences. He's just picking players on their work ethic. So that's the big thing with Luke Connolly. I think he needs to improve on that. But quality-wise, 8 points on Sunday. I mean, that's an incredible record. And he was the joint top scorer in the Cork Championship with Brian Hurley. He scored 424 in the Championship. That's an incredible scoring statistic there from him. And it's a difficult one still. The jury's still out on him. I still think so, because he has to control his temperament. He has to control, his rash decision making. But other than that, I think quality-wise, he's up there with the likes of Sean O'Shea. I know that's an unpopular opinion, but I think he definitely is up there. You mentioned it, that he can take shots from ridiculous angles because he has the quality. He's a former soccer player. He's an absolutely unbelievable quality player. So, yeah, I just think he needs to improve on consistency. But other than that, I think he's an unbelievable player.
Yeah, absolutely. He's definitely raw around the edges, and he's probably not a system type player. But he's clearly got the talent and the abilities, and it would be good to see him back in the Cork team. Obviously had him on the podcast about over a year ago, and he was a very nice chap, and definitely wish the best for him with Nemo Rangers and with Cork next year. I suppose moving on from that, your favourite neighbours in Kerry, the other final in the Kerry Championship, East Kerry versus Mid Kerry. East Kerry 116, Mid Kerry 10 points. David Clifford, I mean, what can you say? You run out of things really to describe him. 1-9. I mean, he's I think I seen on Twitter earlier that possibly in 20, 30 years down the line, people could look back at David Clifford in the same light as Christy Ring. where he'll be folklore, he'll be that sort of famous player, like, oh, did you see Clifford play live? Were you around when Clifford was there? A bit like the way people would go on about Lionel Messi in soccer, or Maradona or Pele or whatever, where he's not just the greatest player possibly at this moment in time, but possibly in the history of the game. Now, don't get me wrong, he obviously needs to win multiple All-Irelands and do it consistently, probably for 5-6 years, but there's no doubting he's on his way to do that. And just another incredible performance from him.
It's a real performance. And I was looking, I obviously didn't watch the game, this game between East Kerry and Big Kerry, but I was looking at one of the highlights particularly. I think it was shared multiple times on Twitter, that point where he just rolls along the ground and then stands up and then gets to the point. Like, he's an unbelievable player and just incredible talent. And to win Footballer of the Year on Friday night and then produce a performance like that, scoring 1 6-foot play. I mean, he's an absolutely specimen of a player. He's an incredible player. And the scary thing is, he's 23 years of age. There's more to come from him. I mean, he's 7 years off 30 and he's achieved so much. Like, imagine if he won the Sigerson Cup as well this year, along with all the titles. Like, I'd imagine, like, I think Kilmurray and Oran are in the final in the junior championship, and there is the possibility that the likes, or not Oran, sorry, I don't know, it's Cove in the final with Kilmurray, but one of them sides are going to play Fossa, I think, in the junior Munster championship. Who's going to go on him? Seriously, like, I don't know. I'd say they'll have to get prepped mentally and physically as well, because they might have a torrid time on him, to be honest with you. Like, it might be a brilliant experience going on Clifford, being up close to him, but it might be one of the worst experiences of their life as well, going on him. So I wouldn't wish anything like that on a junior defender, but that's the way it is really with this guy Clifford. He's just absolutely incredible. And East Kerry deserving champions of this championship. And while we're on the Kerry Championship, though, I think it's a ridiculous system, to be honest with you. I think it suits Cork club football down to the ground. But if Dingle were to represent Kerry in the Munster Championship, I honestly think they could beat Nemo Rangers. In fact, I think they have the capabilities to beat them off the park. They have an incredible side. But the way the Kerry Championship is structured, it's going to be Kieran's O'Reilly's in it. And they lost 3 championship games this season. Or I think it was 4, maybe 3. But, like, I think it's a ridiculous system in Kerry. I think it's incredibly bad, really. And it's not Temple Nor, it's not Dingle, it's going to be Kieran's O'Reilly's. I mean, it's a bit of a downer, and I think Errol Guinness could even pull off a scalp there. So I think the way it's structured is poor from Kerry, the Kerry County Board. But credit to David Clifford and East Kerry. It's an incredible victory, and they'll enjoy it. And what a year David Clifford's had. Probably, is he up there with our RT Sports Person of the Year? I think he's up there, to be honest. I know it's an amateur sport, but the stuff he's achieved this year, I think he's up there, definitely. I don't know what you think yourself.
Yeah, I mean, like, just looking at a tweet from our good friend Conor McKenna, who said, in 2022, David Clifford has won a McGrath Cup, National League, Munster Championship, All-Ireland Championship, Man of the Match in the All-Ireland Final, Player of the Year, and a Kerry County Championship. Could add Kerry, Munster, and All-Ireland Junior Club Championships as well. Like, it's been a crazy year, like, and he's done it consistently on the big occasion, week in, week out, except when he's playing Cork, of course. Other than that, he's been absolutely brilliant. And I think the thing about Clifford as well is it's not just his ability for scores. I think, like, he's setting people up as well. He's creating havoc for defenders. He's setting up other players for scores. It's not just his scoring. Like, even in games where he hasn't scored, like even in that game in the semi-finals, I think was it against Dingle? I think it was. I can't quite remember. The game was very, very close, and he only scored 1 point in the entirety of the game. No points from play, but there was a couple of moments towards the end of the game where he won a couple of frees, where he set a few people up for scores just to take the pressure off his teammates. So I thought he was very, very good indeed. Good old Jimmy Slyan there says, if I was on Clifford, fingers in his eyes, just going for the ball, ref. Yeah, I think you'd get away with that one, Jimmy. I think just because of your connections with Mayo there, definitely a few brown envelopes for referees and whatnot. But yeah, as you were saying there about the Kerry Club Championship, I mean, I don't know, I do get the system of divisional sides and everything else, and obviously it gives chances for junior players and everything else. But like from watching the highlights anyway, it did feel very lifeless, like having two divisional sides in the final. There wasn't really much celebration at the end. I don't really think there was much of a pitch invasion from what I've seen. And yeah, like it did seem quite lifeless. Maybe like for Kerry fans, that's always the way it's been, so that they're kind of used to it. And I suppose at the same time, you see with a team like fellow Rangers, for example, who make the semi-finals, put North Kerry on the map. That's really what shows the goodness of divisional sides. And there's plenty of club players in Dublin here who would play for junior and intermediate sides, and maybe we'll never get the spotlight of playing for senior teams. But I don't know. I don't know what you think, but it did feel a bit lifeless, sort of just watching the game, or watching the highlights anyway.
Yeah, even watching the celebrations on Twitter, or even the crowd when Clifford hit that amazing score that I watched on Twitter. Probably the only clip I watched of the game, but yeah, it did look lifeless. So I think it does ram home the point about divisional sides. But the only other county that does divisional sides actually is Cork. I think this is a thing that Cork. I actually wanted the Cork system to Kerry, to be honest with you, because with Cork there's the Premier Senior and Senior A, two grades in Cork football now. So both in grades can't play in divisional sides. So, for example, I say this for Cork viewers: not the Green players can't play for Duhallow in the club championship, or Island Rovers players can't play for Carbery. So that's sorted in. And Senior A is like intermediate in Kerry. So that's the second grade of Cork football. And so Cork football actually goes down to the third grade for them to play division for the divisional side. And I think that's probably the best way to do it. Like you look at the best divisional side in Kerry, was East Kerry, obviously, and you have the likes of James O'Donoghue, who plays for Killarney Legion, a huge club in Kerry. Austin Sachs are going to be eligible for that next year, which I think is madness, really, with the size of the club. Fawcett, I think David Clifford is fair enough because he plays for Fawcett. It's a pretty small club. It's a rural club. It's a junior club. But I look back at Carbery. They're the best divisional side in Cork this season. They played Ballincollig and absolutely got destroyed, really. But with Carbery, there was only 9 intermediate players, and then the rest of them were junior. And I think that's the way that it should go, really. And with Kerry, there's only 3 grades: senior, intermediate, and junior. With Cork, I think it's 5 grades, or maybe 6 of them. I think there's Premier Senior, Senior A, Premier Intermediate, Intermediate A, Premier Junior, Junior A. I mean, it's a load of it's a mouthful of divisions, really. But I think it's probably the best way to do it because it gives more junior players exposure. Like Kerry are kind of they're saying junior players gives exposure in Kerry, but James O'Donoghue's an intermediate player. Like Paul Murphy from Rathmore is an intermediate player. Shane Ryan is an intermediate player. I mean, fair play to them for doing this system, and if it works for them, great. But I just think it doesn't give clubs a chance, particularly. I know Dingle would probably beat Nemo Rangers, in my opinion. I think they have better players and all that. It probably suits Cork football down to the ground. But I was so disappointed, actually, to see, from a neutral point of view, that Dingle didn't make it, because I think they were an outstanding team this year, brilliant to watch. And for that club team to fall to the wayside over this system, I think it's scandalous, really. I think they should have Dingle representing Kerry and tweak it a small bit. But look, the Kerry County Board, they're the kings of it. I'm not sure what you think yourself, Aaron, but this is the second grade of Kerry football, and they're getting in these teams. Like Austin Sachs will be eligible. I mean, it kind of does make a mockery of the whole thing. I just think specifically it should be junior players. That's just my opinion on the whole matter. But Kerry fans would probably think differently.
Yeah, I mean, you could argue though at the same time, if Dingle were supposed to be in the Kerry or in the Munster Club Championship, then maybe they should have won the club championship, which obviously Kerins O'Rahilly's won. And it is strange because I think Kerins O'Rahilly's, they lost every game in the group in the county championship, and even in the group that they were in the club championship, like they finished with 3 points. 1 win, a defeat, and a draw, and then obviously they beat Spa in the semi-finals of the club championship, and then obviously they won the final of the championship versus Temple. No, like they haven't really beaten any big hitters. They haven't beaten any of the big sides, shall you say, on the way. But in the same time, maybe Dingle should have done better in the club championship. Like maybe that's the the way forward for teams now? Like, is there really much of a point in going all out in the county championship when, you know, the club championship is really probably where, you know, you're going to avoid your Cliffords, all the rest, and then if you win it, then you're in the Munster Club Championship.
Yeah, like if Kerry aren't going to change their system, I think that's the way the clubs have to go, unfortunately. I'm not a particularly fan of the club championship. I could see why Dingle were resting players at the start of the year. Their eggs was in the basket of the county championship, and they thought it was more prestigious. But maybe they need to think longer term. They need to think realistic, because East Kerry, looking at their side this year, it's a county side. It's literally a county side. You look at James O'Donoghue, David Clifford, I think Dara Roach was on it, I think it was. Paul Murphy, Shane Ryan. You have Paul O'Shea on the bench. I mean, come on now. Like, it's an absolutely ridiculous team that East Kerry have, and they were always going to win this championship. I know Dingle have performed brilliantly, and I love watching them. But look, East Kerry, just look at the players in the field. Like, it's unbelievable, the amount of talent. And you may as well put them in the All-Ireland Championship, and they get maybe a semi-final of the Sam Maguire easily. You know, this sort of team is absolutely incredible. And you would agree it's probably the way forward, because Kerry are not going to change their spots. They're just going to stick with this championship, and fair play to them. But I think clubs need to, like Temple No put a lot into the club championship, and that's another club I actually feel sorry for, because they perform much better than Kieran's O'Reilly's, in my honest opinion, in the Kerry Championship. But look, it's the way the cookie crumbles. They failed in the final. They didn't perform on the day. Kieran's O'Reilly's performed on the day, and now they're in the club championship. I mean, okay, they won the club championship, Kieran's O'Reilly's, but I'm not a particular fan of it. I don't think anybody. I think Seamus and Lou Payton from Play on GAA got a load of flack on TikTok over promoting their video about the Kerry Championship being a joke, and they were saying, oh, you know nothing about Kerry football. But like, I think everybody's nearly saying it, that this structure. There's no questions about Kerry football. It's an unbelievable standard of a championship. I think the players in it are absolutely incredible, and the county side especially. But there is question marks about the structure. Why Dingle or Temple No or any of them didn't make the championship, the Munster Championship, and Kieran's O'Reilly's have, despite losing like 4 games. I mean, you know, there has to be questions asked, and I think questions will be asked properly when if Kieran's O'Reilly's, in fact, lose the semi-final against either Denier or Aero Guinness, which could happen. I honestly think it could happen. And if that happens, I think the Kerry County Board need to reconsider something, to be honest with you. If they want to do well in the club championship, I'm not sure do Kerry actually want to do well in the club championship, but if they do, they need to restructure the championship, because it's helping no big clubs in Kerry whatsoever, in my opinion.
Yeah, like, and to be fair, like, Kieran's O'Reilly's do have good players. Like, they have the likes of Tommy Walsh, Barry John Keen's obviously in there as well. Like, they do have a David Moore in the midfield. Like, they do obviously have a good few players, but at the same time, their record is quite questionable over a span of 8 games for a team that's going into an All-Ireland Club Championship. Like, there's no other team in the country that's lost 4 matches. But yeah, it's still, and I know it's 2 different championships, but I don't know. Maybe they need to have a system where they even it out between both championships, or something of that nature. I really don't know what they need to do, but maybe 1 or 2 changes possibly need to be in order there. Moving on to the Mayo final, it was Westport 1-9, Ballina, Stephenites 1-6. Well, I suppose we were saying there, you did predict Westport at the start of the year to win the Mayo Senior Football Championship. So you got that one right.
Yeah, I did. Like, it was more out of hope, really, because Lee Keegan, I just wanted him to win a senior championship with this Westport side. And even look at the Westport team, other than Lee Keegan, you have Owen McLaughlin there, I think, as well. Mark Moran. I mean, the forgotten man in Mayo GAA, really. He's an outstanding, maybe a bit like Luke Conley, he's an outstanding footballer, but temperament's maybe an issue with him. But once he gets going, he's an outstanding footballer. I remember him against Galway during lockdown in the league. I'm not sure, do you remember that game, Aaron, specifically? He was incredible, that game. Like, he was sitting Galway players on their backsides. He was doing everything with the ball. I think he was absolutely outstanding in that game. But Ballina Stephenites, they performed pretty well, but they didn't do it on the day. Again, like the Bars, like Temple No and Kerry, they just didn't perform on the day. And maybe it's a lesson for club sides, really, not to perform to their best of their ability at the start of the year, really. And to put their eggs in the basket once they get to the final, just, go in under the radar small, but then burst into life at the final. That's what Westport did, and they won us in the end. Fair play to them, brilliant victory for them. And Lee Keegan, Jesus, seeing his interview on Mayo GAA and all that, jeez, what a man, and he absolutely deserves everything, winning this county championship, and hopefully now they win Connacht. I'm really rooting for this Westport team because I think I went on holidays there once, but again, Lee Keegan is an outstanding footballer, and Mark Ward as well. If he can fight his way back into the Mayo team, I'd be all for it because, again, I love to see skillful footballers play for their counties, but the one man that's the winner in this, predictions or not, getting predictions right or not, is Lee Keegan. What a man.
Absolutely, yeah. And I suppose you're saying there, I've been to Westport once or twice. It's definitely a good holiday destination. And yeah, it's great to obviously see Lee Keegan get his day in the sun, shall we say. I mean, he's obviously given so much to Mayo down the years. I think I'd speak for most Mayo fans who would regard him as the best player for Mayo, maybe in this sort of era from what shall we say, 2010, 2011 onwards, of the group of players who broke through, and your O'Connors, your O'Shea's, Alan Dillon, Andy Moore and all the rest, not to quote Jimmy Slyan there, but all these great players who obviously made the breakthrough. But I think Keegan's probably been the most consistent of the lot. And Hilton even says here, do you think that Lee Keegan won a club title, he might stay on for next year on the county panel to give a last shot for the All-Ireland and have the privilege to win a club and county title? Yeah, it's interesting. I definitely think if he had have retired, you probably would have heard it by now. Do you know what I mean? I think, county players would be going back training soon enough, unless he's going to do a Stephen Cluxton on it, but he doesn't really seem like that kind of person, to be honest. I think he is fairly transparent a lot of the time with the media, so I don't think I think he would have said he's going to retire unless he is focusing on his club, and maybe if Westport got eliminated, then he'll come out and retire. I don't know, I'm not sure, but he can still clearly, he doesn't need to retire. He's still clearly got the ability, and for Westport, I didn't see the game, but I seen he was named in midfield. I don't know if he actually played there or not, but again, that shows his versatility. He can play a cornerback, wing back. And even a few other Mayo fans have said this down the years as well. You could probably throw him in the half forward line, full forward line, and he'd probably do a job. He's such a versatile player.
He's an unbelievable player, and I suppose that's what makes him one of the greats of Mayo GAA. I'd even go that far now. He's an absolutely incredible player, and he's an incredible, personality as well. I seen him on the Sunday game analysing the Derry Galway game in the semi-final, and I thought he was very articulate. I think he's an unbelievable player. He reads a game particularly well, and yeah, he's an incredible player. And honestly, it's one player that I actually like from Mayo, Andy Moore's another as well. But I'd love him to win an All-Ireland, whether it be county, whether it be club. Now that the bars are gone, I had a soft spot for the bars, and I know Nemo's still in it. But honestly, I'd love Westport to win it, just for him. He's an incredible talent. And yeah, he's so versatile. I think I've seen him in the half Ireland once or twice maybe, but he's an incredible player. And yeah, he's a brilliant individual for GAA and Mayo, and probably one of the legends of Mayo GAA. Maybe unlucky to not win an All-Star this season. Maybe a lot of people are saying that. So yeah, he's an incredible player, and hopefully he wins an All-Ireland, whether it be club or county, in the next few weeks. Hopefully he'll be club, because I'll be up for Westport definitely in the club championship, definitely up to the final anyway. If Nemo reaches, we'll have to see. We'll have to see then. Yeah, Westport will be definitely one of the teams I'll be up for, because of Lee's achievement, really, and I hope he does win an All-Ireland, and hopefully he does it in the end. He's a legend of the GAA, even without the All-Ireland title.
Yeah, absolutely. I think even a Kilmacud Crokes Westport final, I think that would be something definitely to sort of dig your nails into. And as you said there, obviously we've mentioned Lee Keegan a good bit, but plenty of other good players in there. Mark Moore, and as you've mentioned before, Fionn McDonough, very, very good player. We've seen him with Mayo in the last couple of seasons. Owen McLaughlin's actually injured at the moment as well. And from what I've heard, there's a few other good club players injured with Westport. So, it shows their, I suppose, strength and depth that, they've had a couple of injuries and they've been able to, in the end, make the breakthrough and come through Mayo. So massive congratulations to them. There was a comment here from Gavin who says Mike Cullen or Westport who would win. And I suppose that leads us nicely into the Galway final. Mike Cullen won 10, Salthill won 9. Late goal from Peter Cook. I'm not too sure if you've seen it, but it's just the classic long ball that gets floated into the square and then it gets flicked on and into the back of the net. I'm not too sure if the Mike Cullen forward was going for the goal, to be honest. He may have been going for the point, only he knows, to be perfectly honest. But Peter Cook gets a bit of a touch on it above the goalkeeper. And Mike Cullen, by the narrowest of margins, escape with a late goal, late victory. And they progress into the Connacht Club Senior Football Championship, where they will, in fact, play Westport. I mean, that's going to be a tasty game.
It will be, and probably will be on TG4 as well. The height of the game is absolutely incredible. And I did see that goal. You don't beat a long ball going into the square. It's incredible how it transpired really. And there's rumours Peter Cook will come back into the Galway team, and I always liked him as a player. I thought he was an outstanding player for Galway. He had more commitments, I think, last year. He came back. He's done well with Mike Cullen, and they've won the Galway Championship. But they've done it the hard way as well, like beating Mountbelly and Moylock, getting this last minute goal as well. What a story for Mike Cullen to win it. And on the Mike Cullen and Westport, I'd back Westport to win it because of the players potentially to come back into the team, but could be wrong there again. Like I predicted the Bars to win Cork, but they didn't do it. But then again, I predicted Westport to win Mayo and they did. So, it could go either way, really. But I'm going to go Westport to win it, but it's a brilliant achievement for Mike Cullen to win it. And I was looking at Paddy Power odds, actually. Mike Cullen are third favourites to win the All-Ireland, according to Paddy Power anyway. So they're only behind Watty Graham's Lane and Kilmacud Crokes. So, that's something you might not have known, Aaron, but it's an interesting fact. But Westport then are seventh favourites to win it. So, it should be an unbelievable, titanic clash. And the winners of that play strokes down from Roscommon. So all the heavyweights in Connacht are on one side of the draw. So it should be very interesting.
Yeah, it's much like the inter-county draw, actually, as well. Like, you've got the Sligo champions, Leitrim and London champions on one side of the draw. Like, I think, I was saying it to Shea Brady before, like, if you were a Thurles Strand fan, you'd be looking at that draw and thinking, Jesus, like, we've got a serious chance at maybe getting to a Connacht final. And then on a one-off game against the Mike Cullen, Westport or Strokestown, three teams who haven't played in the Connacht Club Championship, at least at senior level, and in God knows how long. A lot of these players have never played. I don't think any of them have, actually, as a matter of fact, because Mike Cullen obviously couldn't play in 2020, and that was, I think, their first ever county title, or their first in 30 years or something, as a matter of fact. So will certainly be interesting there. But yeah, I would have to agree with you there as well. I think, I'd probably narrowly aim towards a Westport win, but like, at the same time, Mike Cullen have got a lot of good players, and Galway sides have shown down the years that once they get out of Galway, they are a force to be reckoned with. And, I know Mountbelly and Moylock didn't make the breakthrough in Connacht last year, but, they were very, very close. Obviously had that decision at the end that went against them. So, you certainly can't rule out Mike Cullen.
You can't, no, but you can't rule out Westport either. They're a pretty good side, and historically, I would agree that Galway champions actually do better than Mayo champions. So that'll be interesting to see how they get on there. But it should be an intriguing game, intriguing watch. Hopefully, it'll be on TG4 so we can all watch it. But that side of the draw, and Thurles Strand you mentioned as well, that was one side before coming on air here that I was thinking of that could make a run. Like, I looked at their side of the draw, they have to play St. Mary's Kiltuckert or St. Kieran's in the semi-finals of Connacht. I mean, how easy could that get, really? So, and Thurles Strand are the kingpins of Sligo over the last few years, and they have some excellent players themselves, like Liam Gahan, Phelan O'Donnell in midfield as well. So, and Rian Bailey for the Ball Talk podcast is on the panel, I think, of that team as well. So best of luck to him. So I think they'll do well. I think they'll probably reach a Connacht final and they'll come up against Westport. But you've seen so many times, Aaron, that a side going in under the radar, they don't do so well in a previous round, or they do well in previous round, but against lower opposition. And then the other side, the Westport, i.e., would do well against higher opposition and then get tired once they get to the final, and Thurles Strand will be all rested. That same thing could happen. Like, I think Thurles Strand are real dark horses for Connacht. Like, not just to get to the final, but to win it. I think they're pretty good. They've done well at Sligo over the past few years, and their side of the draw is so easy, to be honest. It's ridiculous.
Yeah, no, I think they've definitely got a great chance. I mean, you wouldn't rule out St. Kiernan's or St. Mary's pulling off a shock. I mean, St. Kiernan's actually pushed Thurles Strand quite closely last year, so you certainly wouldn't rule them out. But like, what an opportunity, most definitely for a team like Thurles Strand on that side of the draw. Moving on to the Tyrone final, Errigal Kieran 2-11, Carrickmore 1-12. The Canavans and Co. and Peter Hart in there as well get the job done, their first county title since 2013. It definitely got nervy towards the end. There was a goal right at the end of the scene on highlights in TG Carr where Errigal Kieran were passing it around the back, messed up a bit of play, and Carrickmore ended up getting a goal. I think it was Martin Penrose who got that one. So they made it quite closer towards the end, maybe in a similar fashion to Finbar's Nemo Rangers, but huge win for Errigal Kieran. First county title in 10 years. The Canavans and the Hearts rolling back the years.
They are, yeah, and they look a very good side. But yeah, it was a very interesting Tyrone final from what I was hearing as well. And for the Canavans to do it, I've seen the photo of the two of them with Peter at the end of it, and that's brilliant to see. Peter Hart, I think, honestly, one of the most underrated players in the country in midfield. That's pretty good that he won it. And Martin Penrose, I didn't know he played for Carrickmore anyway, but you learn something new every day. But yeah, great to see him on the scene as well. Like, pretty old players, all lads doing for clubs once again, coming to the fore. But yeah, brilliant win for Errigal Kieran. The thing is, though, they play Watty Graham's Glen in the Ulster quarter final, and that'll be some mouth-watering tie. Like, Glen are the second favourites for the All Ireland, according to Paddy Power, anyway. So this will be a very, very difficult game for Errigal Kieran to try and win it. But look, I think they're probably one of the best Tyrone sides to come out of Tyrone in the last few years. So if a Tyrone side is going to make waves in Ulster club football, maybe it's no. Like, they're a pretty good side, to be honest, on paper, but can they produce it on the pitch against a pretty good Watty Graham's Glen side?
Yeah, Keane has plenty of comments coming in here, just saying he plays midfield and Hurling, play midfielder, centre-back in football, scored 1-7 in Hurling and football this year. So congratulations, Keane, top man yourself. But yeah, as you were saying there, I mean, it was a big win for Errigal Kieran nonetheless, to get the job done. And obviously going in against Watty Graham's Glen now in the next round, like, it's gonna be tough for them, make no mistake about that. In the Fermanagh final, Enniskillen Gales 3-12, Ballick 11 points. So I suppose Ballick, where you went and bought some pottery or whatever you did, you know, it didn't quite work in the end. But Enniskillen get the job done. And Conor Love, actually, I was looking at the highlights, two very, very good goals. Might be a player we might be hearing more of for Fermanagh down the years. Bit of a tongue twister there. But Enniskillen, nonetheless, got the job done. And it's the mighty lads from Cavan of Gowna next.
Yeah, and I was chatting to John McMahon on his podcast last week that Gowna could be in a final, but looking in Enniskillen hammering Ballick in this, unfortunately. Look, is it good pottery? I don't know. We use it for special occasions, so it's good, to be honest, and I think, did we get the teapot? Oh, I think the teapot we got was in Wicklow. I keep thinking that was Ballick, but anyway, away from pottery. Probably that's probably why. But I was mentioning with John last week that Gowna, they only have to beat Enniskillen to reach an Ulster semi-final. It's a realistic objective for Gowna. Like, I see Gowna recently on RT and on the highlights reel anyway, and they were excellent, I thought. And Cavan football has been on the rise over the last few seasons, so maybe they could find their way. But Enniskillen, like Derry Gonley Harps last year against Dunmore, is it Drumore? That's the team from Tyrone. They knocked Drumore last season and eventually went on to run to the Ulster final. Maybe Enniskillen could be that kind of side, but they're on the side of Crossmaglen and Kilcrew. So I don't think there'll be a fairy tale story there, but maybe a club championship might prove us wrong again, but we'll have to see. But yeah, Conor Love, I've always rated him as a young, talented footballer. So interesting, he got a brilliant goal yesterday. So yeah, good win for Enniskillen, but unfortunately for the pottery merchants in Ballick, it wasn't a good day.
Yeah, definitely not. Gavin says baffling Cavan of 40 Ulster title, but yet no club has one. That's surprising if no Cavan team has ever won the Ulster Club Championship. To be fair, majority of Cavan's Ulsters and All Irelands came pre the 1950s and 60s. Like I don't know if they all actually happened. Like, I think maybe there might have been a Cavan man just sort of, editing the records or something of that nature. I don't know. Like, there's definitely something dodgy going on there by all accounts. But no, nonetheless, like I think Lookdown have got plenty of good players, and Conor Casey, as we've seen before. And who knows, if you get past Enniskillen, I think you'd then be playing either Kilcure or Crossmaglen in the semi-finals. Like you'd obviously fancy Kilcure or Crossmaglen to come through, but stranger things have happened in these club championships. We've certainly seen it down the years. In Clare, it was Éire Óg 9 points, Ennis-Stoyman 6 points. And then in the Waterford final, it was the Nor 10 points, Rathgormack 8 points. I suppose both sides winning back-to-back county titles there. Both obviously going into the opening round of the Munster Club Championship. And look, big win for Éire Óg. Like I seen Darren O'Neill was in there in midfield. Huge win for them.
Brilliant win for Éire Óg. Well, I was hearing from GAA that actually they didn't perform particularly well, and Clare fans didn't perform particularly well. Like in its time, and apparently we're playing a defensive brand of football, and it kind of ruined the game as a spectacle. But yeah, it was a good win. It was a good win for Éire Óg, and I think they could be a threat in the club championship coming down the line, because they're playing Denier in the first round, and I'm not right off Denier. They beat Carby Rangers, the Cork champions, in 2016, so I know what they're all about. They're a pretty good side, even by Waterford standards, so that'll be a tough for a first round game. But the next round is Kieran's O'Rahilly's, and we'll go back to the Kerry argument again. Will Kerry complain about their club championship if they lose to Éire Óg? Possibly, and I think they actually could. I think Éire Óg have the capabilities of beating this Kieran's O'Reilly side, and then they reach a Munster final against either Clonmel Commercials, Adair, Newcastle Western, Nemo Rangers. So, look, Éire Óg sits there for them. I think they got the experience last year from playing in a Munster Championship. Unlucky against the Bars. The Bars were just a much better team on the day in Páirc Uí Rinn. But Éire Óg, they have the experience. They have Darren O'Neill there. Gavin Cooney scored 6 points against Ennis-Stoyman, so pretty good performance from him. Keaton at centre forward did pretty well. I think Ian McGrath, centre back, is talked about as a good player. Manus Doherty, a corner back, who's doing well with Clare in recent seasons or recent games. Kieran Russell's another one. So they've some very good players, and Mark McInerney, of course, very good player as well. So yeah, I think Éire Óg have the team to challenge a few teams in Munster, but Denier, don't write them off either, because they're well capable of causing shocks. I think they've won a few Munsters themselves, beating a few Kerry and Cork teams, so they might be at it again.
Absolutely, yeah. Like I think they, we've seen them down the years produce one or two shocks. Like you would probably have to still lean towards Kieran's O'Rahilly's to pull off the victory. Like I think it would be a massive shock, and probably not a good look for Kerry club football if they were to be beat in a semi-final against either the Nor or Éire Óg Ennis. Looking at the London final, St. Kiernan's 13 points, Fulham Irish 8 points, so big results for them, and that obviously go into the Connacht Club Championship. And moving on to some hurling results, then it was the Limerick final, na Piarsaigh 3-23, Kilmallock 2-15. Brilliant display from na Piarsaigh. Like really controlled the game. They were, 10-15 points up nearly at one point in the game against the reigning Limerick champions as well. And I suppose the general consensus really is that with na Piarsaig's quality, I mean, they might be potentially the team, if Ballygunner can see off Kilruane, McDonough's, who we'll get onto in a moment, in the opening round in Munster, na Piarsaigh might be able to cause a shock or two.
They can, yeah. And like in 2020, they were probably the most faultless team in the whole club championship. But unfortunately, it was cut short due to the unfortunate COVID-19 pandemic. So they didn't progress in the Munster Championship, but they were determined to do this year. And by God, they produced a brilliant performance. And I've been saying for the Piarsaigh for years, they're one of the best sides in Limerick. They're undoubtedly that. They're an unbelievable side. Like Adrian Breen, I think, is one of the best club players around the country. Even David Dempsey as well. Was there Shane Dow? I'm not sure does Shane Downing actually still play for them. I have to check that out now. But he doesn't.
No, he doesn't. He doesn't anymore. No, I think he was think he was playing intermediate or junior level potentially with the team, and I do think he's involved with the panel in some way, potentially on the bench or maybe even as part of the backroom team. But he wasn't playing in this one.
Interesting to know that, yeah. But still, the point remains, like the Pierce are an outstanding team, and I've seen them a few seasons ago. I think they hammered Doon in an Limerick final, and I was so impressed by them. And even this scoreline against Kilmallock, I was kind of disappointed with Kilmallock at the Munster Championship last season. But I think the Pierce could make a run at it. I really do. I think themselves, Ballygunner, the Bars I'm hopeful for as well because of their strength and conditioning as well. Bally, I think this should be a very, very interesting Munster Championship. And Ballygunner will definitely get more of a challenge than they did last year, in my opinion. So it should be interesting to see how it transpires. But the Pierce fully deserving Limerick winners. Like it was disappointing that Kilmallock kind of won last year. They didn't represent Limerick hurling particularly well, but I think the Pierce definitely will. I think they're an unbelievable side, strength and conditioning through the roof in that team. And yeah, they're an absolutely incredible team, and it'll be interesting to see if they come up against Ballygunner. Of course, if they beat Kilroy and McDonough, I don't want to offend any Tip fans. I've offended enough Mayo fans, but yeah, it's going to be interesting.
Yeah. I mean, like just looking at some of the players on their team, like you've Mike Casey in there, a fullback, Will O'Donoghue obviously in midfield, like the captain Peter Casey, David Dempsey, Conor Boylan on top played fairly well as well. So I mean, they've a tremendous amount of talent, and I think it might have been them who played Coola in an All-Ireland club final there many years ago. Very, very close to winning it, and you know, they have a lot of very, very good players, and they're certainly a team that I don't think you can rule out. You know, and you might look at Leinster and think, okay, Ballyhale should have enough to come through the Leinster Championship without much problems. You'd be looking at Slotneil maybe in Ulster. But then in Munster, like at least we probably are going to have a very competitive final, semi-final, whenever potentially the two teams could meet, because Ballygunner and Piershig, I mean, it's definitely one to get the popcorn out.
Definitely is, yeah. And Kilroy McDonough will probably spoil it now by winning in the game against Ballygunner. Yeah. You never know. You know, it's absolutely mouth-watering, this tie between, well, potential tie, we should say, between the Piershig and Ballygunner. Like, two sides that I think have All-Ireland aspirations. I know it's a bit early, but they're particularly very, very good sides, the both of them, and even the lads you named out of the Piershig. I think Peter Casey's another one for the Piershig as well. Correct me if I'm wrong now, but Jesus, that's some talent that the Piershig have. You have players nearly in every line in that team, and it's incredible. I think Barry Hennessy's or Kilmallock. I don't know who their goalkeeper is now, but yeah, it's a very, very good team for the Piershig, and they will definitely put it up to Ballygunner. If any team is going to put it up to them, it'll either be Ballyhale or the Piershig. That's it, I think, with this Ballygunner side. So should be interesting to see how it transpires, but it is definitely a game that it is mouth-watering. Hopefully, again, it'll be on TG4. It probably will, given it's the Munster Championship, but we'll have to see in the next few weeks. And yeah, I'm definitely intrigued by it, even though it hasn't been confirmed.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think Barry Hennessy, like I have the pleasure of having the teams in front of me here. So he does play for Kilmallock in goal. Evan Condon, actually the man in goal there for the Piershig. But yeah, moving on from that, obviously we were mentioning Kilrowan, McDonough's, and big result for them. First Tipperary Senior Hurling Championship in 37 years, 220 to 116 versus Killadangan. First half, Killadangan started very, very well. Came out of blocks, but Kilrowan in the end had enough to turn around in the second half. Big result for them. And I suppose firstly, really like the tribute they paid towards Dylan Quirk as well towards the end of the game. Like I have an image from it here. Like obviously great to see, you know, like it was in the exact same spot as to where Dylan Quirk sadly, tragically passed away, obviously when he was playing against Kilrowan McDonough's. So yeah, look, great to see the Kilrowan lads sort of pay tribute to Dylan Quirk and sort of, you know, pass on their condolences and everything else. And look, you know, what a story it would be if they could go on potentially, maybe win a Munster, maybe win an All-Ireland, you know, and obviously Dylan looking down.
Yeah, it's a really poignant moment, and brilliant for the Kilrowan McDonough players. It's a brilliant moment, probably one of the moments of the year. And yeah, fair play to them. And Yeah, you nearly forget that Kilroy and McDonough were actually the opponents for Clonody Roxmore, and that's a fateful night. Like, it was a sad night overall. It was just class what they did with Dylan Cork with the helmet at the end and everything. I think it was incredible what they did. And the match itself, they won it in the end. Pretty good achievement for them. And I don't know, I think this is their first Tipperary title in a very long time anyway. And fair play to Kilruan. What a victory for them. And fair play to them. And hopefully they do themselves justice now in the quarterfinal against Ballygunner. I think they will, for Dylan's sake as well. For Tipperary hurling, I think they'll do the county very proud. But Ballygunner, I think, should win the game. But you never know. The club championship, it's as unpredictable as ever, but we'll have to see. But brilliant moment towards the end of that game.
Yeah, and Keane Darcy there with 2 goals, some good performances in there from Conor Austin, Keane O'Kelly as well. And Jerome Cahill, who actually scored 2 goals the last day, was actually held scoreless for the entirety of the game. So definitely a big surprise there from his point of view. And the fact that he didn't play that well and they still went on to win definitely shows the I suppose the class of a team like Kilruan to get the job done. I suppose moment of the week, club moment of the week. I mean, maybe we just mentioned it, but any others or anything else you can think of?
Well, as we mentioned that, I'm going to go for I'll go for something in Cork because you probably predict say someone up the country or something like that. So I'm going to go the Senior A final. I know Nemo won the Premier Senior final, and fair play to them. But the Senior A final between St. Michael's and Knocknagree, whoever won the game, I thought deserving winners. Like Knocknagree, they won their first Junior A county title in 24 years in 2015, and to get to a county final 7 years later was incredible and on the verge of the top grade of Cork football. But it was Michael's day. They lost 6 finals prior to this, and they eventually won it with a 276 points victory. Brilliant victory for the whole club of Michael's. And I honestly think this will be a similar story to Meath ladies. Like they get over the line finally to try and win this, to get promoted to the top grade of their competition. And they've done it. I think they will be a threat. Their hurling club is Blackrock, who got to the final in the Premier Senior Hurling Championship. So maybe there's going to be footballers coming out of this club, St. Michael's, in a Cork jersey. You never would have seen that a few seasons ago. But fair play to Michael's. The celebrations were unbridled, and it's a brilliant club. And for them to win a final finally for the first time in 7 attempts, it's brilliant. And the way they kept going and going and going, and they eventually won it, brilliant.
Yeah, no, like I suppose for me, obviously Kilruan McDonough is their tribute to Dylan Quirk. Like I think goes without saying that's number one. But I suppose in terms of on the pitch or anything like that, I mean, Luke Connolly's point for Nemo Rangers was absolutely outrageous. And then outside of that, I mean, you're looking at Lee Keegan delivering for Westport, getting that Mayo Championship. And even David Clifford as well, as obvious as it is and maybe as normal as it is that he produces such an unbelievable performance, but 1-9 of your team's 1-16 in a county final again goes without saying. So, I think if I had to choose, I'd probably go for Lee Keegan and Westport just for getting over the line, especially when they were big underdogs in that final. But yeah, Matthew, look, top man, and I suppose best of luck for the rest of the Munster Club Championship with your favourite team, Nemo Rangers.
Yeah, thanks for that, Aaron. It'll be fun them all the way. And thanks for coming on to the podcast. And we should enjoy the Liverpool game now. I think we're 1-0 down at the moment. But usual way. But thanks for having me on again.
Brilliant. Yeah, just seeing the goal go in. So now I want to keep talking. But yeah, no.